Welcome to the History with Story. Today, we talk about the life of Alexander the Great. He was a boy born to a king and trained by a philosopher. At just 20, he became a ruler. By 30, he had conquered the known world. But behind the legend of Alexander the Great lies a tale of ambition, bloodshed, and a burning desire for immortality. In the year 356 BCE, in the ancient city of Pella, Macedonia, a child was born to King Philip II and Queen Olympias. That child was named Alexander. From a young age, Alexander exhibited signs of genius. When no adult could tame the wild horse Bucephalus, the young prince calmly approached, understood the horse's fear of its own shadow, and mastered it. The beast would become his loyal companion for life. Alexander's mind was sharpened under the tutelage of the philosopher Aristotle. He was taught philosophy, science, and ethics, but also the stories of Greek heroes like Achilles, whom he idolized. To Alexander, these weren't just stories, they were a call to greatness. But Alexander's reign began with chaos. Greek city-states saw his youth as weakness. Thebes rebelled. But Alexander responded with calculated fury. He marched his army to Thebes, crushed the revolt, and leveled the city to the ground, sparing only temples and poets. The message echoed across Greece: "Defy me and be destroyed." With Greece under control, Alexander turned eastward. His father's dream, the conquest of the Persian Empire, would now become his own. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont into Asia with an army of 40,000. At the river Granicus, he faced the Persian satraps. He charged across the river, nearly losing his life in battle, but emerged victorious. The next year at Issus, Alexander faced King Darius III himself. Vastly outnumbered, he executed a bold cavalry maneuver that shattered the Persian center. Darius fled, leaving his family behind. Alexander treated them with respect, as royalty, not prisoners. Egypt welcomed Alexander as a liberator. There, he founded the city of Alexandria, destined to become a beacon of learning and culture. In 331 BCE at Gaugamela, Alexander faced Darius again. The Persian forces dwarfed his army, but Alexander's tactics and discipline won the day. Once more, Darius fled. But this time he would never return, betrayed and murdered by his own men. Alexander declared himself King of Kings. He had conquered the greatest empire on earth, but he was not done. With Persia under his control, Alexander ventured deeper into Asia. He marched through Bactria, Sogdiana, and across harsh deserts and rugged mountains. He married Roxana, a noblewoman of Bactria, forging ties with local rulers. But not everyone supported his growing adoption of Persian customs. In 326 BCE, he crossed into the Indian subcontinent. At the Battle of the Hydaspes, he faced King Porus, a fierce and tall warrior with war elephants. The battle was brutal. Though victorious, Alexander admired Porus and made him an ally. But Alexander's men, worn and weary, reached their limit. At the Hyphasis River they refused to march further. Alexander, disappointed yet understanding, agreed to return. The journey back through the Gedrosian desert was a nightmare. Thousands died from thirst and heat. Alexander himself nearly perished. Back in Babylon in 323 BCE, Alexander began planning new campaigns, including the conquest of Arabia. But suddenly he fell ill. Fever gripped him for days. He lost the ability to speak. On his deathbed, his generals asked, "To whom do you leave your empire?" He whispered, "To the strongest." On June 10, 323 BCE, Alexander the Great died. He was only 32 years old. His sudden death left a power vacuum. With no clear heir, his generals, the Diadochi, plunged the empire into civil war, dividing his conquests among themselves. In just 12 years, Alexander built an empire stretching from Greece to India. He named over 20 cities after himself, introduced Greek culture to the East, and brought Eastern traditions back to the West. His campaigns spread ideas, language, and art, changing the course of history. But Alexander's story is more than conquest. It's the story of a man obsessed with greatness, driven by myth, and destined to burn bright and fast. His name lives on in history books, monuments, and legends. He is remembered not just as a king or a general, but as Alexander the Great.